Good morning. This is Just Listen, hosted by George Goodman. Today is June 19th. Happy Juneteenth. It's a federal holiday. I hope that everyone is off today. And I want to talk about the state of Illinois and what is going on in the political arena from this past week. Now, you would think that since the legislature is on break, that there wouldn't be much going on, but actually there is, and I want to highlight two things. The first thing is that the legislature is not in session now. They've passed their bills, and then the governor has signed them into laws. And Monday, I talked about what the changes were. So, as of today, they're still talking about the newly signed state budget that was $800 million more in spending. And want to highlight something for you. They're saying that the cost will be covered in the tax changes that they made. And if you look at it with a broad stroke and look at how things have been in the past, so they are taxing digital market, meaning YouTube, some of the other digital companies, and they are putting fees on them. Okay. So what normally happens is the IT industry or social media in this case, may want to take them to court. So they may not get that $800 million. So I wanted to throw that out there first. And I'm not saying that they're not going to get the money, but having it as a law and enforcing it in today's world are two different things. So, with that being said, the governor, like I said, is talking about how the budget's passed and everything's great for the people of Illinois. So, so they are framing the budget as a win for working families. They are focusing their talking points on middle class cost relief, funding for food access, expanding education, and pausing the state's gas tax for 6 months. Now, remember, I said that the local municipalities could still have the gas tax, but you decide if they've really dropped it at the state level. Okay, so the Republicans are saying that they're criticizing the budget, nearly 800 million in new revenue, which is what I just told you, generated through tax changes. And I told you that it was through digital media that they had changed the taxes to put more taxes on them to raise the money. They are calling it a milestone of tax and fee hikes that will damage Illinois business climate and penalize everyday families. What they mean by business climate is that companies who are using the internet, social media, some of these artificial intelligence firms in Illinois, they're going to be taxed. So if companies are taxed, what do? Well, eventually, maybe they move out of the state. So that's what the Republicans mean by that. And remember, as far as the budget goes, it's just for this year. So if there are shortfalls in that budget, well, stay tuned to see what happens next year and who's going to have to pay for it. Because if the $800 million is not raised to offset this budget, then the state of Illinois will be more in debt. And remember, they have been in debt for the last several years. Okay, so labor union fallout. So a rare move from organized labor. So the AFL-CIO endorsement freeze announced it is withholding all candidate endorsements for the November election due to widespread frustration with the Democrat-controlled legislature. Probably didn't know that. So the unions are not, well, specifically the AFL-CIO, and I think that the teachers are in that union are withholding endorsements. That's major, and it's been crickets of it being reported on the news. Haven't seen it on social media either. So Republicans are leveraging this friction to claim Democratic policies are failing workers, while Democrat leaders are managing the fallout after key union priorities such as pension reform and unemployment benefit expansion stalled out. Okay, so that's possibly it. Those are important. And the question is, why didn't the Illinois legislature pass those priorities? So when you vote in November, and it is interesting that there have been no commercials from the Republicans across the board. And when I do these updates that I'm doing every week, there's no information on Attorney General, Secretary of State, the Republican nominee for the Senate. They have been quiet. And as I previously told you, it looks like that the Republican Party is not giving folks money to make commercials. The only person who's actually making commercials is Governor J.B. Pritzker. He's the only one. All right, ballot integrity and third-party spoilers. All right, so the gubernatorial race has shifted to a legal and strategic battle over ballot access. The signature dispute. Former Republican strategist is attempting to run as an independent candidate. So Darren Bailey's campaign is trying to make sure that they can legally run by challenging the signatures. So you need 37,000 signatures to be on the ballot in November as an independent. So this is interesting to me because I believe that the Republican nominee should have said, hey, okay, what do you stand for? And do it that way, and then let voters decide. Don't spend all of this money, which you could be using to campaign with, to get somebody off of the ballot. Because as far as I know, I don't think that they're going to be able to prove that the ballots aren't legal. So they're putting money on that they could be using for other things. So it is a huge distraction, and the Democrats and plus independents embrace Democrats and Republicans. So the Democrats don't seem to be worried about this guy being on the ballot. So maybe the Republican nominee should have thought more about how that looks. Okay, just my opinion, the last part of that. All right. So that is pretty much it. Like I said, it's a holiday. The legislature is out of session. And I just told you what the candidates and specifically the Republican Party nominee is focused on. And to reiterate again, there's no information unless you go to these candidates' websites to what the Republican Secretary of State would do. The Attorney General, no commercials, although I've said that is the only position in Illinois statewide that Republican voters should be focused on because that's the only buffer zone. Okay, so that is it for today, and I'll be back Monday. And have a great weekend and take care of each other. Have a great day.